So today, happy Monday, you guys. August.
11.
August is flying by already. So I'm super excited. I've wanted Wendy on our platform for a couple years now, but she's been so busy. She's like trying to catch a jackrabbit. So, so she's revolutionized the equine industry and rehabilitation with her Surefoot equine stability program. And Wendy, I hear such good things about you. No, never a bad thing at all, which is
That
hard.
is shocking.
Yeah, in the horse industry, right? Um, so anyway, welcome to Holistic Animal Insights private membership, and we just cannot wait to hear about your balance system.
All right. So in the chat, everybody, first thing I do is engage my audience. Okay. Just put in the chat whether or not you have never heard of Surefoot, or are using pads, because that gives me an idea of like where to go with you guys. So I will just look at the chat here and just, oops, wrong thing.
And I'll look on Facebook.
Yep. Just let us know if you never heard of it. Okay, Janet, no problem. That's awesome. Have 4 pads, just started to use them in rehab for Lyme and EPM. Great.
And Julie on Facebook says heard of it with a little emoji.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
so
Mari and Kimmy are twin sisters who were at the horse expo, and they bought.
Oh, great. Which demo did you see?
You guys unmute yourselves.
Yeah, just this is like
Kimmy, unmute yourself because Mari's so low tech. Mari got there first.
She's unmuted.
Yeah, she got there before you.
He joined Sunday, so we got to see the half halt demo.
Oh, that was so cool, wasn't it?
Loved it. Yes.
That was so cool. That poor rider, she had no idea what she was walking into.
It was great.
I was supposed to have 2 riders and one never showed up at all. And the other rider showed up, and I started with Surefoot because she walked in and she told me, this arena is kryptonite to my horse. And I'm like, what? And she says, yeah, because the one side had like trailers and all kinds of things on it. So it was an open-sided covered, right? And I was like, wow, that's not a problem. Let's just start with Surefoot. And so I started with Surefoot, and that did not look like kryptonite at the end, did it? It looked like superpowers.
Oh,
yes, great.
I saw that.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was a fun demo. I just love, and somebody filmed it, so I actually have that.
So good.
Yes, I've used pads and hoof care. This is Kimmy. Oh, Kimmy, the Kimmy I know, Kimmy. Okay, great. And you're okay, great. So now I get who Kimmy and Marie are, because they showed up and talked to me, and I've known Kimmy for a long time. So hi guys.
Hello.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kimmy's the one who turned me on to you and your pad.
Okay.
That is how I first saw the pink pads that her horses she was using in her trimming. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And you could actually see where they were bearing their weight. And
yeah,
I know I had a human chiropractor that you would use that on myself. And so he would put you on a pad and see where you were balancing and how you were shifting. And then he'd use blocks to adjust you.
Yeah.
So he would just let your own body weight adjust. And so when I heard about this through Kimmy, I was like, oh, I love this idea. Why didn't we think of this?
It's okay. I will talk a little bit about dogs. I was way back when SurePaws was going to be a thing, but it got waylaid largely due to COVID. But so the paw pads were going to have some grit in the surface, because the colored surface can be very slippy, and they were going to be larger, and the price point and the COVID and everything, we haven't done them. You can use the regular pads, but the problem is you have to be very careful because the surface is slippy to dog paws, the colored surface, unless it gets a little bit kind of worn, and toenails can kind of tear up the non-coated side. Obviously teeth, you don't let them I don't let horses chew on them either. I had a horse the other day trying to bite my pad. I was like, no. But what I want to tell you is that we've had dogs on Surefoot pads, and they get similar results. One of the things that's really interesting with the dogs, I have a person in Australia, she does physical therapy on dogs and horses, and she works with lure coursing dogs and uses the slants a lot, and she can feel the psoas muscles let go when she puts them on the slants. Now we
Wow.
can't feel psoas muscles in horses, really.
Right.
I mean, when you think about
Right.
it. But with the dog, she could, especially these types of lurchers and whippets and things, she could feel that let go. And so they've been using the slants a lot. Heel high. Okay,
Amazing.
and then Mary says, I'm really interested about horses who say no to pads. Oh, I have the coolest one. My one with Lyme doesn't dig the pads. My EPM horse loves to rest his hind toes in a resting position on them for a long time, and then I'll walk off. Fronty puts his foot down, but then steps off fairly quickly, not worried too much. So, all right, since Janet has never heard about Surefoot, let me do a little intro on this, and then
Okay,
I can
great.
get into stuff like that, because I don't want to get too far down the track and have people confused. All right,
All
so I am going to pin myself, oink, and then I'm going to do Canva one up, and I'm going to come over
I'll
here.
remove my spotlight. There
Cool.
you go.
All
I
right,
love
so
that.
basically we're talking about a series of surfaces that range from hard to soft. And if you think about physical therapy, we've been using balance pads with people to rehab proprioception. You would never start with the most difficult thing first. You would start with something very doable for the person or the horse, and then gradually move into more unstable surfaces, which are more difficult. So in that regard, the half physio pad, what you see here is the lowest profile. It's an inch of hard and a half inch of medium. And it's great for acclimatizing horses. It's great for farriers who use this while they're trimming, to make the horse more stable and more comfortable. In some cases, if I could only have one pad, if I had to travel and I could only have one pad, it would be my half physio pad, because it fits in my suitcase. I can do a ton with it. And it's just a single thing. It's easy to carry. So then we move into the concept of increasing instability. And that's where we have like the firm pad. Where's the hard? I don't have hard right here. That's okay. So now we're starting lateral give when we get into firm. So more instability, more demanding. Okay. From there, you can go into, let me just scoot forward on this. Just where's do. Okay. So here's the idea of more stable to less stable. These pads are designed for horses. People use human products, but most of the time the human products are not firm enough for horses. I see a lot of horses struggle. So that's why you need that much harder density. Horses weigh a lot, right? So they vary from most stable to less. There's varying densities, right? It's a progressive system. So in that regard, ground zero or level zero is the earth, whether it's your arena footing or your pasture, okay? Level one is your half physio pad, anxious horses, acclimatizing horses, doing trimming, that sort of thing. Then we go to the standard pads that are 2 inches thick. They're 10 by 12 by 2. And so there's 6 of these, 6 different ones. The hard pad gives to heat and pressure, no lateral give. This is great for unstable horses, larger horses, like when you're talking your warm bloods and that sort of thing. You really need to start here, because they weigh a lot more. And a lot of them actually are unstable. They need greater stability. Okay. Hard slants, same material, only an angle. Everybody asks me why an angle. You're literally changing the angles in the horse. Like I said, with the dogs, what we see is you can feel the psoas muscles let go. When I put people on these slants, I put them heel high. I have them soften their knees a tiny bit, because horses can't lock their knees. And everybody tells me they feel their lower back get longer and softer, right? And their balance shifts back. Now you can use the slants in any direction, heel high, heel low, supinate, pronate, but heel high is kind of that's my go-to. Okay, so firm, we start bringing in lateral instability. Firm slant, same material as firm, but again, on an angle. Okay, soft has the most squish, and medium is springy. And I put medium last because of that springiness. Some horses, it's kind of disturbing because they feel it push back. However, this is, for humans, the favorite one. Okay, so you've got the earth, the ground level is 0, then the half physio pad or full physio pads, just different size, hard slant, firm slant, soft and medium. Okay, so that's just trying to think of it as a progressive system that we want to introduce the horses gradually. Let's see if, oh, this has to download. This shouldn't take long. So I'm going to show you a little video if it downloads here pretty quickly.
And Wendy,
Just,
while you're loading that,
yep.
what was your inspiration for this?
Oh, so it's 13 years ago, May 13 years ago. I was teaching at Morven Park, which is a place here in Virginia. And I would go there and I would see these. I teach on Monday and Tuesday every month. Once a month, I go and teach for 2 days. And this horse that I've been working with for a good 3 years, when I started out, he was lame. He had flipped over a stall door. And I started giving him Feldenkrais lessons. And I gave him Feldenkrais lessons. Like if she showed up with the horse, I had to work on him. He would insist. And then this particular month in May, she showed up and he was lame in the right hind leg. And she had changed the saddle because she wanted to jump. So she'd put a jumping saddle on him. The farrier had quicked him in the right hind leg. And so he was short. And so we had the dressage saddle there and we put the dressage saddle back on and he was still short. So that night I went home and I'm talking to Dr. Harmon on the phone, yakking away. And she's like, I want to stand at my computer instead of sit. This is before standing desks were a thing.
Oh,
And I want a pad to stand on. I'm like, okay. And so while she's talking to me, like she started telling me about how they were putting dogs on different unstable surfaces for rehab. And I like tapping away on my laptop while I'm talking to her. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And I said, do you think it would work for a horse? And she said, I don't know, but time it for 15 seconds. So I'm like, okay. So I grabbed something. She knew the horse, right? She'd seen Dante. So I grabbed something out of my shed. I drove to the lesson. The rider's already on board. I walk in, I pick up his right hind leg. I stuff the pad underneath, put the foot down, time it for 15 seconds, and he walks off sound. It just blew my mind. So then the next horse I saw that day, we worked with him for about an hour and he was totally different. So the next horse was a quarter horse with a crappy canter. He wouldn't let me do his back feet, but I could do his front feet, which was the opposite of Dante. I'm like, fine, whatever. And we had a round canter. And then the next horse was a halflinger and we had a round canter. I'm like, oh my God.
that's amazing.
And the halflinger is owned by Catherine Wyckoff, whom you may have heard of.
I've
Joyce
heard
may
it,
have
but I
talked about.
don't know her.
Catherine is a Feldenkrais practitioner. She's a physical therapist, and she's a SERP. Which one is UT Tennessee, SERP or CERT? I can't ever remember. Anyway, she's an animal physical therapist and a human physical therapist. She's got a PhD. She's a Feldenkrais practitioner. So we've been good friends for years. And so when I did her horse, and it was like, oh my God, right? And we're like, we don't know what we got, but this is something. So
Well,
then I
and
just
when I talked to Dr. Heather O'Leary, she goes, I think Wendy just stumbled on this.
well, it was an experiment. Yeah, I was like, I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner. You always ask what's going on, and you're willing to just try things. And it was a 15-second experiment that changed my life. Right.
That's so amazing.
So it's pretty amazing. So then I just started running around to all my friends going, can I come over and do this weird thing with your horse? And they're like, sure. And then I
So
went to a
cool.
clinic out in Washington State. And as soon as I got there, I was like, oh my God, I got to do this with these horses. And they all started changing. And then I came home and I flew to Holland and I sat on a horse while somebody put pads underneath his feet and I felt it. And we videoed it and I took it to Mia Siegel, who was my Feldenkrais mentor. She worked with Dr. Feldenkrais before he ever even started training people. And she was like, I don't know anything about horses. Oh, look, there's the pelvis changing. Oh, look, there's the base of the neck changing. Oh, look, right. And she's pointing all this, which was true. We still don't know why it has this effect. with people and dogs, you'll see some level of relaxation, you'll see some calming, you'll see some balance changes, but with horses, it's so profound. It's so clearly different than other animals. Now, we've actually made elephant pads.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. So I
I,
really
I
think
can't
that
show you any of those, and I can't show you any elephants because of the problems with that. But we have made elephant pads. And we have an elephant podiatrist that uses them. And by the way, he uses hoof armor and looks just like you trimmers with his rasp.
that's so crazy. How
It
fun.
is so crazy. I was like watching him and he's like, oh yeah, he's got the rasp and he's taking down the toenails. And then he comes out with the hoof armor because she had a little problem with her foot. And he puts, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like this is so wild.
That is so fun. So
Um,
I think because horses are quadrupeds and they are standing on pretty solid surfaces all the time, I think it's relieving like traction, right?
I think it's the construction of the foot, the hoof. I really do think it's the uniqueness of the hoof. Like only equids have that hoof,
Right.
right? Elephants have toes. They have 5 toes and they have 5 fingernails, if you will. And like the way they were trimming them to me before was like all wrong, right? Because the digital cushion is huge and they were letting the toenails get long, right? Like dogs, and putting the pressure into the toenails. And he's like, no, 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 you got to get the toenails, you got to take them back and you got to, round them off and get that elephant up on his pads to relieve that digital cushion. I mean, it was like, it was so interesting watching this guy. But I think it's the uniqueness of the hoof. And, here's the way I look at it. That horse can run across uneven terrain, jump tall buildings, and land on its feet, which is the most amazing thing on the planet. So
It
while
is.
we know the foot has to be healthy and it has to be well trimmed, we don't want disease. I think we tend to take for granted that that foot is actually sensing the ground and organizing in space with the brain and the body. Um, and you just look at the size of, well, here, I'll just
Well,
show
and
this.
Wendy, I can tell you if my trimmer farrier leaves a little high side, man, it's a crowbar all the way up his body.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Um,
like, whoa, this totally threw his balance off.
you just look at these feet, they're so tiny compared to this massive body. And so, this is so incredibly critical in terms of feedback information to this brain to organize this whole thing. Right? I mean, that's the thing for me. It's you start to realize this is a mini brain and a mini heart. And then there's 4 of them. There's 4 mini brains and hearts that have to relate back to this big brain up here. And if there's something that interrupts that transmission of information from that foot to that brain, whether it's an injury, whether it's loss of proprioception, whether it's, poor shoeing that now the horse has developed a habit, whether it's, something going on in the positioning these feet to keep that head from hitting the ground is like the most critical thing. And, I just more and more I'm amazed by the fact that horses do what they do. It's just, I just get,
I agree. I just cannot believe they even allow us to do that to them.
oh, I mean, and then you think, okay, I have this cookie that's about a half an inch long, even less, right? And I can get this entire 1,500-pound beast to do what I want because I have a little tiny cookie. Come on. I mean, it's like, so here I'm just starting with a half physio pad. This was a demo that I did. And basically what I do is I let the horses investigate it. Right. And this is Kimmy, this is my pink one that I've literally worn the color off of at this point. It doesn't really have much pink anymore. And then I'm going to pick up the foot and I don't care how much of the foot's on the pad. I don't care how long the horse stands on the pad. I don't care if the horse stands on the pad. I mean, you come at it with this like nothing matters, right? It's all good. And if they can't pick up the foot, I don't worry about it, right? There's something going on with her that she's like got stiffness in her joints. And so she's not able to pick up that foot. So it's no big deal. right? And then she does a little fooling around, right? She grabs the lead shank. She had an injury, and that was one of the reasons they wanted me to use her as a demo. And I've turned off the sound, but then she checks out the pad, right? And I think that one of the things that's so critical with Surefoot is just allowing them to have some choice. Like they can maybe not pick up their foot, but you see how hard it is for her to pick up that foot. So look at what she's doing with her rear end, like what she has to do to balance to give me that foot. It's nearly impossible, right? She's just struggling. Like she's like really shifted her weight back. And then she's got this leg so stiff, and she's not trying to be bad, but for whatever reason, that's really difficult. And so, I ask her, but I don't worry about it. And there's not that many horses that won't stand on a pad. I mean, really not that many. But there are some that have this kind of difficulty, that for what, look at what she does with her rear end to, when I pick up her foot. And then she has to put the foot forward, because if she puts her foot on that pad, then she's going to be in this really tight spot. So I just wanted to show you a video where, it's really not important. I know that sounds so weird. Um, it's like letting her explore, letting her have the chance, noticing what she does that makes it difficult for her, right? And then just giving her a little rest and letting her think about it. And like she's put her head all the way on the floor, right? And I had to kind of do that quite differently. And then she strokes it and she steps back. No big deal. And a lot of people think, oh, my horse doesn't like the pad. That's not actually the case. I don't know if this horse doesn't like the pad. What I know at this point is this is incredibly difficult for this horse. And I think a lot of people misinterpret behavior as, oh, my horse doesn't like it. Or, I mean, look at what she's doing. She's totally investigating it, even though hasn't really stood on it. And I just take her for a little walk. And the reason for that is to just remove her from that situation for a moment. Give her a little break. Okay. And then just come back, and just like if sometimes you're struggling, how many people here do like Wordle every morning? Anybody besides me? I do Wordle on New York Times. I have a friend, and we do Wordle, we do connections, we do strands. And this morning, like strands, you have to find the words in the box. And I couldn't get it. So I just walked away, right? And it's just like this horse. We just walked away and we come back, and the next thing she can put her foot on the pad, right? So that idea that sometimes we just need to give it a moment, like I just took her for a little walk and came back and said, do you think you can do this? And she's like, oh, okay, maybe I can. Just like me with Wordle. Our brain is so amazing, because we can take a situation and have a pause, and then the brain can figure it out. We can come back and can do something, or we see it differently. And I think that's so important to recognize with horses, that just because in the moment they can't do something doesn't mean they don't want to do something. It just means in that moment, that no, that I allowed her to say, no, I can't do this right now. It's like, cool, okay, this is hard for you, or you don't understand this. But if I give you that moment, you'll come back and you'll give it a shot. Right?
And Wendy, it's really interesting to see her posture on that. And she actually looks proud of herself.
Yeah, there's like, wow, I could do this. And so that's actually the end of that little video clip. So now I have to find, where'd Zoom go?
But it's
Zoom.
interesting that she was like leaning into it and bending into it.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun. I mean, I personally thought that was fun to see.
Well, and like I show this example because so many horses just will stand on the pad straight away. And then people go, oh, my horse won't. And it's like, oh, they don't like it. And it's like, I don't read it that way. I read it as, oh, there, I found the right button. I just read it as, all right, let's just give this horse a moment or another try or see what's going on. I actually, so I have Surefoot Online now, which is a subscription program to work with people with Surefoot. And I have one woman, and the horse that she's working with is a school horse, and he's in a therapeutic program. And for 2 months now, it's questionable if he will pick up his feet. But even though like she's feeling really frustrated that he won't, he still stands there and drops his neck, licks and chews, and does all this other stuff when she walks up with the pad. So, okay, he's not standing on it and not progressing. Like he's not like the other kids in class. Who cares? Look at what's happening with him.
So you actually certify people in your technique and they go out and be practitioners in this.
Yeah. Yes. And they're authorized. I don't actually certify because that requires testing. It's a technicality, but yes. And I'm kind of just redoing the program so that it's starting with online, because there's so many people in so many different places. Trying to put a in-person workshop together became logistically a nightmare. So now I'm starting anybody who wants to be a practitioner through the online program. And then when I collect enough people and they have a basic level of education, then we can do the workshop and move them along. So yes. Okay.
Okay, so I think that's really interesting and wondering why Kimmy Bonetta hasn't done that yet.
I don't know. Ask her.
Kimmy,
Probably time.
why don't you bring these to my house and when you trim my gelding? Why didn't you put Spike on this? She's not answering me.
He's not, I know. So Mary, does that kind of help you out understand that, like it's okay if the horse, the hardest thing is when you see like on Facebook and you see horses standing on multiple pads and everything else. One thing you have to realize is they didn't start there. And so usually when I'm showing a horse on multiple pads, it's because I've progressed to the point where I can step back with my camera and take a picture. And so, just starting with 1 foot, and with your EPM horse, basically, he loves to rest his hind toe. Great. I just think, part of our job is to figure out what they want as opposed to what we see other people do and think our horse should do. Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's tough as human beings, is
I just
to be
know.
okay with very little, not have our own personal agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
it's
we're very driven by seeing what other people do, right? I mean, it's oh, that's not a Mustang. Okay, I had
but
a video that said Mustang. It was not a Mustang.
it totally helps. And I am fascinated with my guy that likes to rest his hind toes. And it's on the pads that are what do you call them? Wedge pads with the
Yep.
wedge, yeah, wedge heel high. He just loves resting his toes on it. And I stick him in his stall and he'll like put his foot on it and stand there. Hey,
Wow,
pretty
that's really
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And like you can, I'll show you this video. This is in the course I give people assignments and they practice different things. But this is one of the things that that might be interesting for you to do with your horse is, okay, this is 3 high, but it doesn't have to be 3 high and they don't have to be on a pad on the other foot, but just a passive resting the foot on the pad, right? So here's this, she's a Grand Prix horse and, we're just asking her to just rest that hind leg and let it hang. And so, this is, about a minute where she just stands there and she's willing to just stand there resting her toe. So it may be that you're doing something like this with your horse, or he's doing this, if you know what I mean, right? And just relaxing everything
Yeah,
up.
that is what
Yeah.
he's doing. Yeah, it's exactly what he's doing. And he's doing it on the wedge pads for some reason. And it's like he almost figures out where on the wedge he wants to be. He sort of searches with his toe, finds the spot, and then puts his head back down. Hey, it's really wild.
Yeah. So I always say that I think the horse knows their body better than I do. So my job is to figure out what their body wants, right? And figure out what is good for them. And now I've lost how to.
Wendy, I'm really surprised how stacked that is.
Yeah, that's 3 high. But this horse has been on pads for years. Okay.
It's
This is
so
not our first rodeo.
Yeah, it's so interesting though, that like would have never crossed my mind to like build these levels up.
Yeah. And
But think about because we stand around fences. We take our foot and put it on like the second rail on a fence and stand there for an hour giving a lesson, right? Like, and it
Yeah.
releases our hip differently.
Yeah. So, oh, there it is. My, my
Did
controls
she,
for Zoom. I
did
need to-
this mare pick this posture? Like, did you try to do it on the other leg? And she was like, no, I really like this leg.
I was doing this for specifically for filming, so I can't remember. I have to look and see if I did the other side. You know, like I said, Roxy's been on pads for a long time, and so did I do the other side? I just wanted to film. Let me see what this
And
one.
Wendy, through like the proprioception aspect of it, it seems like they adjust themselves.
Oh yeah, no, I've literally this is years ago. I was at Equitana in Essen, Germany, and Linda was downstairs doing a clinic, and I went down and I took some hard pads, and there was a horse whose pelvis was like so wonky. And so I messed around, and then he decided he liked standing just on the flat hard pads. It's like, fine. So he stood there for a while, and because he wasn't swaying or anything, what you have to realize is in the beginning, you can make horses sore. You can be activating little tiny postural muscles and they can wind up sore, and you can't undo that, right? So I'm always cautious when I first start out with Surefoot pads to make sure I'm not taxing them or asking too much of them, because you can't undo that. But anyway, I stood this horse on a pair of hard pads. He was totally quiet. He probably stood there for about 5 minutes, but he wasn't swaying or anything, right? So I just left him. And when he came back in the afternoon, his pelvis was totally level. And that's all we did. And I was like, blown my mind, right?
That
And I see this kind of stuff all the time. And I still, you know, I've been doing this for over 13 years. I'm still so excited and interested, because it's like you just don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know how the horse is going to respond. You don't know, like, you might be doing some pads and then you change it to something else, and suddenly the horse yawns like crazy and lets everything, you know, and it's like, okay, I don't know why that happened then, but, you know, I did something and it was significant to the horse. And so I always think of our job as a facilitator. We're like there to kind of figure out what is this horse what does this horse prefer? Does this horse want harder? Does he want softer? Does he want 1 foot? Does he want, what does he want? And I always have to keep in mind, there's 3 factors. Let me just go to that. I'll just scoot over.
when I'm a little shocked that you said that you could actually do some harm because they're working hard at it if you overwhelm
You
them.
can make them sore. In the beginning, you can, and I've seen that happen, because think of it as, you're starting a new exercise program. And if you've ever started a new exercise program and you start moving your body in a way that you're not used to, the next day you're like, oh, wait a second. And I didn't realize I used fill in the blank. And with Surefoot, we are activating the little tiny postural muscles, right? So
Right.
those little tiny muscles, if they haven't been working and you start activating little tiny postural muscles, you could make a horse sore. And so I always tell people, you're dealing with 3 factors: density, which is the hardness of the pads, and we've looked at that; duration, which is how long you have them stand on the pads that time; and then frequency is how many times you do it,
Okay.
right? So in a session, say, like that horse that I just showed you with the half physio pad, in the beginning, the density is the hardest, simplest thing I have, half physio pad. The duration is really short, and the frequency was in that video twice, right? So I can play with those factors either in a session or over a period of time, say a month or 2 months. I still can mess with density, right? I can go from harder to softer. Duration, I can go from shorter to longer. And frequency, I can do it multiple times in a session. As I increase, like, if I increase duration, I might drop back on density and go a little harder if I'm going to make it a little longer in the beginning,
That makes sense.
right? And I might do it, 3 times instead of 5 times with a walk in between. But in the end, the horses will tell you. They'll tell you which pad, which density, how long. And we just have to be careful in the beginning to say, okay, I know that you'd like to stand here for an hour, but I think a minute is good enough.
Well, and you want to quit while they like it.
But you also, it's just like being a good parent. Like if you tell me, hey, I want to eat this entire bag of chocolate chips, are you going to say, sure, go ahead? No, because you're going to feel so sick the next day, right? Unless you're used to eating a whole bag of chocolate
Well,
chips.
and I actually use that tactic to make myself sick, so I don't keep eating them.
Okay. So that's the thing, is I always say in the beginning, you've got to be a good parent, because you don't know how the horse is going to respond until the next day. Right. So you might not see any change at all. You might see a huge change, but the next day you're going to kind of see, well, how did that land? And so when people, are working with their own horse, you've got the luxury of spreading the time frame out. When I'm doing a clinic or a lesson, my time frame is condensed, right? I'm going to see this horse for an hour or maybe a couple of days. So I'll play around a little more, but I've been doing this long enough to kind of go, this time, he either is not interested anymore, or I've seen enough change. I'm trying to think of the horse I just saw the other day. Anyway, but when you have the luxury of this is your own horse, you can really kind of spread it out, right? So that you're just doing a little bit each day and you're seeing how that horse responds.
Right.
And so that's good, because it gives everybody a kind of a chance to get a feel for it.
Well, and you can make it fun for them.
Oh,
It's
it's so much fun.
engaging. And so, yeah, they come back going, well, that was easy. Let's try it again. Like it's just
Yeah, and
gamified at that point.
well, and the thing is, it's such there's the horses, when you see them respond with the licking and chewing and sighing and head lowering and everything, they come back, they drag people back to the pads, right? This thing it's good drugs.
Well, and the high-low heel, the high-low shoulder, I would
Oh, I
imagine.
can show you high-low.
Yeah, I imagine that'd be super beneficial for them. I get so mad at farriers when they're like, oh, you can't fix that. I'm like, yeah, you can.
Well, I mean, you just need a little more open mind. Okay, I'm going to show you this video of pods. Pods are advanced, with a caveat that I have no control over the shoeing on this horse or the trimming on this horse or anything else. This is a severely high-low horse. And I played with he'd been on pads before, so it wasn't his first rodeo. And then I went to pods, and I aimed for about the third, fourth row of dots. But what I want you to really watch is what he does with his pasterns. And he experiments with his weight shifts. And, given Kimmy, I apologize for the feet. Okay. I have no control over them. But he played with his pasterns and shifted his weight. And at this point was, almost even distribution of weight. Whereas if I can find the picture of what it looked like when I started with him during that session, I probably can, because I know what that date is. Let's see, I actually know what that video is. 1062, 1062. Okay, so now get info on
And
this.
so these little pods that you developed.
So I don't manufacture them, but I use them, and they're advanced because you have to be able to target the foot. 17,
It's almost like a yoga ball for hooves.
yeah, and the horses. Why is this? Get info. What's the number on this? 2221059. This is December 17th. Okay, so let me just go back here. and find. Oh, went too
And then
far.
while you're looking, Stacy Bradley said that she's tried them once. And that she was at a clinic and somebody brought a set of them and she would love to try them again.
The pads or the pods?
The pads.
Yeah. I mean, it just, it gets so interesting and you just, I mean, it's fun. It's fun for everybody, right? That's what I love about it is it's just December
I love
18th.
it too. I think it makes so much sense and it's so engaging. I know my previous dog had a physiotherapist and we would play with yoga mat, different textures of yoga mats for his therapy. And it just to go from a harder to a softer yoga mat made a huge difference in him. And the softer, the harder his balance. And I was just fascinated by subtle changes creating a higher degree of difficulty.
Yeah, it's going to take me too long to find that. My problem is I got way too many pictures.
I love
And
it.
that was back in 2018. But what this horse started out ridiculously high-low. I mean, it was really dramatic. And then I just messed around with the pads and then put him on the pods and challenged him a couple times. And then you could really see how he started messing around with it. So, yeah, it's just offering them an opportunity. And I think that's what the thing that I am most impressed about is that how little input it takes to make a huge change.
Well, I think
Like,
it's the crowbar sensation is what happens down here magnifies all the way up the body.
yeah, but there's so many things that happen. Like I've seen horses where they barely touch the pad and then completely let go. Like literally stroked the toe over the pad, yawned like crazy. Owner had never seen the horse yawn before in its 3 years that they'd owned it.
That's so
No, I mean, how do you explain that one? Trying to see if I
and
can.
Michelle says they look like dog toys. And those are called pods, but yours are called pads, correct?
So there's pads and then these are pods, right? Pads are the Surefoot pads like I showed you in the beginning. Hang on, I'll
Yeah,
just find.
Michelle came in a little late.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, here's this horse.
Oh, cool. So I had a gelding with a grazing club. He would always split his legs to graze exactly the same way. And
Yep.
so it was a little stabby on the right lead. So I would hand walk him and graze him and force him to split opposite. And it changed everything for him. He was such a better mover just from doing that. So this would do the same exact thing.
So this horse, this is down in Costa Rica. He's a Criollo. They had never seen the horse yawn. He literally stroked his foot over the pad and did this. Like did not stand on it. Okay.
That's so wild.
I know. So that's why I say you never know what's going to happen. Here it is. And I'm going to say he's going to put himself on the. Yeah, he just did that. There should be one.
And he's loose. There's nobody there.
Nope. Right? Like you tell me what happened.
Engagement.
Right? But I mean,
Fun for him.
he's on, he's on the beach. He's on soft footing. He's not necessarily on, but he literally strokes his toe over the pad, does not stand on it, and then yawns like crazy. So that's why I say it's like it's hitting so many different levels. It's hitting, well, Stephen Peters, I spent 8 hours with him with his horses, and he
Amazing.
called me a drugstore. And he said there's breathing changes in 3 to 10 seconds. There's licking, chewing, sighing. Horses only have so many ways of showing us that something feels different. Oh, this is an interesting.
Wendy, I want to hear more about you working with Stephen for the day.
Oh yeah, no, I
I thought
went
that was
and,
insane.
that was when he was in Ohio. He's moved around a lot. So this is going back, oh, had to be 12 years ago. I was out in Illinois. Illinois. I was out doing a clinic, and so I knew he lived there, and so I contacted him and I said, I want to come and show you this, because I'd already sent him a video, and I said, this happens really fast, and he's like, okay, fine. So I go to show him, and he had with his own herd, and he had like 5 horses at the time, and he had one that was a mare that had, they were mostly rescue cases, and he brings her out, and I start with Surefoot, and literally there's breathing changes in 3 to 10 seconds. And then, he basically called me a drugstore, and I worked with his horses in the morning. Then I gave him a Feldenkrais lesson. Then in the afternoon, I had him ride that horse and did Surefoot with him under saddle. And what was so interesting was that there was one horse in the round pen. He was on that mare, and there were 2 or 3 other horses in the field. And a horse across the way started to whinny. And so this mare got upset that he was on. And so it's fine, no problem. So he let her go down there to kind of see what was going on. And when he came back, it was like watching a salmon try to swim upstream. She was just going back and forth and back and forth. All of a sudden, she took a big breath, marched right up to me, and I put her foot on a pad like that. Like, she made a decision. Like, this is better than worrying about that thing.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was somebody recently just told me how, they were having a trouble with a horse being in a certain part of the arena. And I always say, once horses get to know Surefoot, you can use that as positive reinforcement. So, this horse was worried about a certain place in the arena. And so the owner, after introducing the horse to Surefoot pads, went over to that area, and it's like, do you want to be anxious, or would you like to feel good? You pick, right? And the horses go, oh yeah, I know where I was. I was just Friday. It's a beautiful indoor arena. It's got big ass fans and windows. It's lovely. And then at the one end, it has a viewing area that's got a glass, exterior, right? It has a seating area that's open. It has a place in the middle with chairs and things. And the horses never liked it. And so when I showed up with Surefoot pads, that's where we'd work. It's right now the horses run there. They can't wait to be
That's so
there.
fun.
They
Oh my
love it.
That's so interesting, Wendy. Like, like just the puzzle, the engagement, the connection, the relationship, the endorphins. What is it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what keeps me, it stopped keeping me up at night. This horse is really cute. His name was Chance because it was his last chance. This woman has a hearing problem. She's pretty deaf. This horse here in the background had an injury, so we were doing some body wraps, the team stuff, and using Surefoot. But this little horse, this was not his first, this was like day 3 or 4. But I want you to just see how much horses will sway, right? And it's very, very intentional sway, this horse, right? And so there was a thunderstorm that showed up, and normally this horse would freak out, and he didn't. He was totally calm about it. Like, he couldn't stand still when she first came in the ring, right?
Wow.
And now it's like you can see how much intention there is. Now, this kind of swaying, you'll see swaying varies from like swaying like way too much imbalanced and they literally fall off the pads, to not swaying, they become more stable, to this horse who is clearly experimenting. And you can see how he's got more of his rib cage over here on this right side, but then he swims back over to the left and then comes back to the right. And look at the expression on his face, right? This is totally intentional. This is not a random event.
And do you have a thinner pad in the back?
I have the firm slants in the back.
Oh,
So the 3-inch angled pads in the back.
he's so like vibing this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. And that's a reactive horse.
Yeah, this horse, like literally she got him because it was that or the killers. And he, like I said, when he came into the arena the first day, this is like day 4, he could not stand still.
I love that
I have a
so
lot of
much.
horses where they tell me the horse won't stand still, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, no problem.
It just
We
makes them, it puts their brain to work.
So this horse, she's so cute here.
Wendy, it's almost like you don't even know what your stuff does. Like the capacity of it just keeps growing.
Oh yeah. And so many,
And how long has this been that you've been developing this?
I've 13 years now.
Okay.
So this horse, it had chronic laminitis. And what I want you to notice is she fell asleep with her nose on the rail and her eyes are shut,
So sweet.
right? I mean,
The
she's just
relief.
like, I'm just gonna sleep here and I need some rest. I need to rest my head somewhere. Right. I mean, it's just so cute. And and we did a bunch of different things with her. This is her from the side, actually. So we stacked her. Again, she's a horse that had, you can do a lot of different things, but obviously in the beginning, it's just start simple. Like I said, when I get to multiples, then I could, oh, that's right, I can't do that. So she's stacked now 3 high.
Amazing.
And
Well,
she
and if
could,
Totally
it's
happy.
interesting, because if you ever have seen a horse with laminitis, like in the front, they tend to put, if they have a hill option, they do this naturally.
oh, really? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I have a friend that does rehab, and so she gets a lot of horses right with laminitic issues, and she has actually created like in her
About
small runouts that are very small, so they aren't moving too much with the laminitis, but that they will stand. They will go out, which it's like a ramp down almost made with softer material. They will turn around and put themselves in a position like this with their front feet up high on the ramp and just sleep.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is how she starts to have a walking motion in her front legs, right? She's not going anywhere, but I'm playing it again. And you'll see how she starts to sway and then she starts to bend her knees. And she looks perfectly square, doesn't she? Right?
yes,
Except
she
that
looks
she's
beautiful.
right. So see how she bends the knee and experiments?
Yeah.
I just love that.
And she's
I'm actually
so
not, I was
strong.
doing barn chores, so I couldn't watch everything. I'm going to go back and watch this, Poppy. But now that I'm watching the videos, I'm in love.
I am too. I can't. I'm like, why haven't I done that?
It's like it's a drug. Okay. So what happens is, at first people they hear about Surefoot and they get a pair of pads and they sit in the closet or wherever, right? They maybe use them once and the horse kind of, I don't know, and they sit in and then they pull him back out and they do a little more and then they leave it. And what I find is it takes like about a year or so of just kind of like thinking about it and going back to it, and then suddenly it clicks. And you know who that was true of is Ida Hammer.
Oh,
Ida
yeah.
Hammer. I told her about well, not I didn't, but my good friend who knew her told her about it way early on in the beginning, and she was like, yeah, that's nice. And then she came back to me like a year or two later, and she was like, what was that thing you were doing? And now she's like a total convert, right? And Kimmy, I don't know what your process was.
Yeah,
Oh,
Kimmy, I want to hear your process.
Sorry, I had to figure out how to unmute myself.
I'm gonna
Um,
spotlight you too.
oh,
yeah, you can unpin me.
well, so my process with the Surefoot was that, I was introduced to it while I was back in Pennsylvania working with Daisy Bicking, and with her laminitic rehab horses, we use the pads for comfort for all the horses to stand on. So my introduction to the pad was to give the horse something soft. And so when I moved out to California, I bought myself a large physio pad so I could have it for out on the truck. And so I really would only reach for it if I had a sore horse. But then along the way, my sister's horse was starting to, I don't know, I must have watched some more of your videos, Wendy, and figured out or talked to you a few more times and then saw some demos and we started using the pads with Ember, and it's made a huge difference. Ember has a history of EPM from a young age and has had a lot of hind end lameness issues. And actually, just since the horse expo and watching the demo, my sister's really been dedicated to using the half physio pads with her and it has changed her whole way of going. In addition to some EPM treatment that the horse has been receiving as well. But night and day difference, that we could see her stride improve and her coordination improve by standing on 2 pads. So that's quite amazing.
And which
So-
pads are you using with Ember?
Ember has now her own set of half physio pads.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
the
I mean, it's just
introduction pad.
really simple, right?
Mhm.
And Kimmy, that's like, that story is so typical that people kind of like, they get it, they're not sure what to do with it, they kind of mess
Mhm.
around, then something happens and they pull it back out. And so I've got somebody in the online course, and she's well, what was really cool was she sent me a video and we watched it in the class, and they thought the horse was acting up, but really it was the right hind. And when I could slow it down and show it to them, they were like, oh. And now she's been just using the pads with that horse and making, a big difference to that horse. But she knows a very top dressage trainer, right, whom she trains with. And she was like, so, telling her about Surefoot. Oh yeah, I have them somewhere. As the dressage trainer, right? I mean, this is so typical. But once it kind of kicks in, and so that's why I don't worry about it, right? I know that
People come full circle.
it takes multiple touches because it's so different. It's so coming from a perspective. First of all, that's good because you don't have anything you can hook it to. Whereas so many other techniques, like if somebody comes out with a new hoof knife, you're like, yeah, it's a hoof knife, right?
Mhm.
But I like my hoof. So it's so unique, but at the same time, because it's so unique, they don't know where it fits in their life. They don't know how to fit it into their program. And then something happens, right? A horse that is suddenly stuck, or somebody shows up or whatever. And then it kicks in. And so I just see that over and over and over again with people.
You know,
It's just-
Wendy, this community does a lot of iridology. We do canine,
Oh, cool.
equine, and feline. And I'm wondering if we can video the iris real time as they adjust, because the iris actually changes immediately.
That would be super cool.
It would be. So Kimmy, ah, next time we're together, we'll try
Next
to
time
do
I
that.
come up. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be super cool to
Yes.
see what's going on with that. So Mary asked, wondering about using the pads in the beginning, working up to more than one pad, thinking about how many sessions to do with a horse per week, etc. Process of building them. I mean, it's so horse dependent. And this is where, I've got a workbook, I've got the quick start guide, I've got the online training to help people. But in the end, it's your horse. Like you start with one pad and one foot and you keep it short. So Rachel Bellini, Dr. Bellini, is doing something where literally a half physio pad, 15 seconds per foot with a walk in between. 15 seconds is what I did with the very first horse, right? 15 seconds, and she sees like huge changes in these horses.
That's amazing.
So there, some people think, oh, you have to do it. There's a perspective out there from a much more physical therapy perspective that it's like 5 minutes 3 times a day on 4 pads, right?
Okay.
It still works.
Wait, 5 minutes?
Yeah, 3 times a day with 4 pads,
Okay.
right? It's a very rigid protocol from a rehab perspective. It doesn't include choice. It doesn't include experimentation. It doesn't include, like really paying attention. And you know what? It still works. Is that the way I do it? No, I want the horse to be a participant in the process. I want the
I love
horse
that.
to feel engaged in the process. But it is being used in this other way. I will tell you a story where a guy who has a roadster contacted me, and he's like, this vet told me to use the medium pad for 20 minutes with my horse with a stifle problem.
Oh,
And he buckled when he walked off. I'm like, no kidding. So that's why I encourage people in the beginning, keep it short. I know 15 seconds changed my life. It's not the quantity, it's the offer, and then really paying attention and noticing, what happened with that horse. Can you pick up that foot? Maybe not that one, maybe another foot. Did the horse relax more? Is he curious? And I think when we get past the physical therapy perspective, you know, of something I'm doing to you to improve something, and come from the perspective of exploration, which as a Feldenkrais practitioner, that's all I ever do.
That's fun. We
It
should
just,
talk about Feldenkrais one day.
oh, we could do that on
Come
another
back,
time.
Wendy. Yeah,
So
we've
I'm
never
going to
had
show
a
you.
Feldenkrais person as a guest.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back and talk about, I'll do a Feldenkrais ATM is what I'll do. So this is a newborn foal, right? That was born, the owner wasn't there when she was born, but she was kind of anxious. And so she just had the full physio pad and kind of just guided her over to it and let her stand on it. And you saw how she body shook there, right? And it just helped settle her nervous system. And so, you know, that's,
So you start them off day one, like
you can,
just
you can.
coming out of the womb. Here you go.
Yeah. And see how
Amazing.
she does a full body shake and she does it again.
And she keeps going back willingly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, you know, when it comes to starting horses, why not use Surefoot during their growth process to keep them in good balance so that when you get on them, they're already stable, right? They're already balanced.
Well, and it's just sitting there in the stall, and the baby's like,
Yeah,
so
she just
that's
guided
the
her
thing
over
that's
it.
so fun for me is horses are curious. Horses are curious creatures, and they often trust us with all the weird things we do with them. So if we throw a pad down, they're like, whatever, let's check it out.
Yeah. You know, yes, they are flight animals, but we have bred them to not be such flight animals, right? Except for our thoroughbreds that we capitalize on the flight. But you know, when you look at, let's look at a saddlebred. I mean, when you think about what they do to get them excited, and they, you know, all they do is like get more animated. It's I'm not saying they are flight animals, right? That is their modus operandi when they get anxious, is they're gonna flee. You know, humans have the same, we have the same thing. The only thing that's different with us is we can build tools that makes us feel like we're powerful. Yeah. I'm looking
Yeah.
for this other video.
Well,
You
On
know,
another
a little
tangent, we
side
go.
on another tangent. But you know, it doesn't mean we don't have the sympathetic reaction the same as horses, right? We do.
So we can stand on these and play with.
Yeah. Oh, I
Do
have
you do
people
it?
that stand on their Surefoot pads. This one woman came up to me in an expo and says, I'm not tripping anymore. I stand on my Surefoot pads and I stop tripping. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
I'm like, oh, am I stuck in videos? That's why I'm not finding it. There was a little twin foal, and I can show you that after. He was born, and the mother rejected him, and she had to get him up to feed him. And so we went there and we just scattered the pads around and just kind of guide him over it, like super gentle, right? And you can see he does not have the best ankles there, right? But this
That's
was the next day, is that they found out that he was actually gated. They had no idea.
oh, huh.
So this is the next day. He's up and going, right?
Wow.
Whereas he couldn't even get up on, see, it turns out he's gated. He couldn't even like basically get up on his own or anything. And so we just guided him over the pads, and this was the next day.
It's amazing.
Isn't that so cute? He's so cute. That's
That
cool.
is crazy.
Yep.
So simple, with so much impact. I'm just blown away.
Yeah. And there's his mom with his twin foal who's like, don't come near my baby. I was like, okay, fine, mom.
So I hosted this EPM summit, and like the last 2 days were all on physical rehabilitation, and everyone talked about your Surefoot pads. Every
That's
guest.
what got me to order them, but Poppy was that summit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
how do we get them, Wendy?
Oh, you go to, I'll stick it in chat.
Surefoot.
It's
Equine.com.
SurefootEquine.com. No, it's sure.
You have it on your
Shop.
.shop.
Dot
Okay.
shop. That's my Shopify shop now that I just opened.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm moving over to the Shopify shop. I have the old shop, but it's a long story. Moving over to,
And you would recommend like starting off with the half physio?
it's simple and easy. It just gets you started, right? And you can always add to your collection. So, why not keep it simple in the beginning while you kind of figure things out?
Yeah. Kimmy, why don't you bring some over before I purchase so I can see what my horses do?
Yeah.
I'm s-
Okay, well, I have the physio pad and I have a pair of slants.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen the ear slants, so I would love to see those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and again, Kimmy's just, real simple, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine.
It would be interesting. Have you, and I get you're definitely using these as an art, right? And not so much encouraging the science of it, but I have to imagine somebody who's using regularly, especially the slants, there's probably a change to the hoof growth too,
Oh,
I would
we actually
imagine.
have a study from France where they pulled the shoes off this horse, put him on hard pads. I think is it over I can't tell you what the period of time was. The they never trimmed it and the hoof changed shape.
Yeah, it would, right? The way that they're balancing on them, it's how we see the wear of the foot happen just with their natural, whatever they're compensating for.
Yeah.
Hmm,
So,
interesting.
so Michelle's asking if I use the half pad, would I let the horse put both feet on it? It's kind of small for two front feet. If you got a pony, it'll work. But some horses try to get two front feet on, but then they're kind of like here. So, the half physio is designed for 1 foot.
And
Um,
Michelle, Kimmy is next door to you too.
Oh.
So if you want Kimmy to run over, not that I'm pimping you out, Kimmy.
All
But
right, so Michelle's got an interesting question. She says, do you have to be careful of the pads getting pee or any harsh liquids on them? Can it damage the material? The answer is no. They
okay.
are antimicrobial. They will not grow anything. I left a full set of pads in Florida in a tub in an air conditioned area with something else that got all gross and the pads didn't. They won't grow anything. And then you can just soap and water clean them. I mean, they're closed cell foam, so they're not going to absorb anything. Yeah. I mean, it's just
Amazing.
gross when they get peed on, but
That's pretty cool. Right on.
uh,
So we're making some good connections here in the live stream chat.
we can,
So that's fun.
yeah. Yeah, what else can I tell you?
You
Try
guys,
these
any other
ones.
questions?
Can you talk about, because I've heard someone say only use one pad, like only use one. I'm
Okay.
hearing a lot of what I'm hearing. It's really interesting if folks follow the TRT method or Walrich Schuller, right? And some of the connection work, Poppy, if we use the pads in those ways of like the TRT, it's resonating for me. Just you're helping the horse find their own comfort and their own calm. The Warwick way is like that connection work where the horse has a lot of choice. The Felderick, we've talked about that. So, but
I
going
mean,
from
why
one
wouldn't you
pad to
add more
more,
pads under more feet? I mean, the whole idea is
right?
start with one pad and 1 foot, but you've seen me show videos of all 4 feet.
And
And
stacked up, which never would have crossed my mind unless
yeah,
you showed
so
me.
clearly the thing to do is to really listen to the horse. And I start with 1 foot and one pad and kind of make sure that that's going well. And when I move on, but then it's not unusual to do both front feet. I might only do both front feet with a hard pad in the beginning when I go to 2 feet. But you always want to think about it's like learning anything. If somebody comes to you and says, you got to do this really hard thing, you're going to be, I'm out. Right. But if I come to you and say, would you like to taste this? Here, give this a try. And you're like, oh, okay. And then, well, how about over here? Would you like it? Oh, yeah. Well, how about, and it's the idea of really facilitating and asking as opposed to anything else. And the horses, I mean, literally we have horses. So I'll tell you this story. I was doing a demo at Equine Fair in Massachusetts This is years ago now. And the horse, they put the roll down door down, and the little pony got upset. And so it was kind of plunging around, and the woman was trying to do some horsemanship. And I said, well, let me take your horse. And I took the horse and I stuck a pad under its foot. And I did that a couple of times. I did both front feet, and his horse totally let its neck down. I threw the rider back up and did it a couple more times. And then my demo was supposed to be riding. So the pads were literally underneath the railing, right? It was a pipe railing. And I'm busy working with a student over here, and that pony goes over, drags the pads out from underneath the fence, and manages to get both front feet on one pad, right? And I'm like, her name was Fluffy. And do you know that everybody at Equine Affair knew about Fluffy at the end of the show?
Right.
I mean, she did it for herself. Now, it's kind of difficult because the pads move around, and I never asked the horses to step on the pads because then I'm into training. I put their foot on the pads. Some of them will put their foot on the pads. Some of them will like walk up and go whammo and, you know, step right on it. But if they don't, and I've asked them to, now I'm stuck in another routine. Right now I'm training, so I avoid that. Right, this is an offer. You can stand on it or not stand on it. You can kick it back. I don't care.
Well, and you could do diagonal legs, let the other part of the body
Lateral,
back.
diagonal, both front, both hind. That's right. You've got so many options. But the thing is to just get started. Just get started with one pad and just do each foot 15 seconds with a walk in between and just see what happens. Somebody says I have lesson ponies. So, oh, lesson ponies love this. In fact, I have barns that have stopped lunging horses. They just use Surefoot. I have dressage riders that use Surefoot as warm up. And then the horses are warmed up. They get on and they go, right? Instead of 20 minutes warming up, they got, you know, that cuts it in half. I have lesson ponies that they bring them out for their lessons, stand them on Surefoot pads, they get their happy place, and then they go and do their job. I have another barn where, you know, this older horse, they've stopped twisting their hocks, 3 of them at 20 something. And then the one will, oh, he's passed now, but they would put the rider on. He would go over to the pads and he would stand there and go to the one that he wanted. And then they put him on those pads and then he'd go do his job. You know, so I mean, it's endless.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
during tack up, but one of the things is not on cross ties. On a
Okay.
single tie, but because a cross tie limits them and they can't put their head down, and you want them to put their neck down to let their back go, right? So if you stick them on cross ties, they can't do that.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, so I'm like not a
Too
fan to see
limiting.
pictures of cross ties, okay? A single, you know, if you need to kind of limit them a little, just put them on one cross tie. They can still move around a bit, but they can get their necks down.
And Julia, on the live stream, Surefoot equine.shop. I've been trying to put it in the chat the whole time, and for some reason it keeps like blank.
I think I did.
Yeah. Oh, I mean on the live stream.
Oh,
On
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, because it comes, this is what, I'll just show you what the website looks like so you know where you're going. So you
Groovy.
know you're in the right place. That's what
Yeah,
you should see. Okay. And
that's
then
just so smart.
you just go to
I
the,
wish I'd thought of it because I did have that chiropractor and I was dating a farrier at the time and I was playing with different wedges, like just sticking stuff underneath their feet and seeing if they would adjust. But you took it to the next level. Massive.
well, and the thing that, you know, like the very first horse I did was under saddle. And I'm
That's
I'm
wild.
really trying to move people off the mark of just in the barn. And the reason for that is that we have environmental habits. In other words, habits that don't show up unless we're in the environment. Okay. So if you've been a horse that had difficulty at the mounting block, it doesn't show up in the barn. It shows up when you're at the mounting block. So why
Right.
not use your Surefoot pads at the mounting block and then remove that habit? Right? Why not use it in the arena if there's a spooky corner like they did and totally change the way horses think about the corner? Why not use it? I've literally stopped lessons, put horses on pads, and then, oh, I did in that demo, Kimmy, remember? With that horse, the right hind leg was a little funky, and I just stopped, chucked a pad underneath, and boom, canter came right through. So, you know, it's only limited by our experience and willing to experiment and imagination. I'm so happy. I'm looking at the website a couple of months ago and had no idea where to start. Yes, and there's a quiz. So take the quiz. I started by messaging my friend and asking her to find hers and want to order something different than she has. That's a great idea because you can always mix and match and share with your friends.
Yeah, it
Right.
could be like the traveling pads.
Well, and we have barns that they buy the complete set as the barn and then they all have it to use all the different pads.
That's so
Right.
smart.
And yeah, they're going to get nicks and tears and cuts. Right. And it's like your brand new car, the first ding, you're always unhappy. Right. But they, they're incredibly durable. Felicitas von Neumann Cosell is my pad attempt to destroyer. And they look hideous and they still work. You can
Right.
wear them out. You can wear out especially the firm pads. You can wear where they just don't come back anymore. They have a permanent hoof print.
They're
in them.
just compressed.
Yeah, and they just can't. But when you think about what you spend, what you spend to get, your horse trimmed every month, and what these cost, and that we have original pads still in use. That's 8 years now, I think.
Well, and I would imagine it would prevent like navicular, ring bone, side bone. Like if you're using
I
it,
can't say it will prevent anything because we haven't done those studies, but it can certainly help and keep the horse balanced. I know I have a case study from Daisy, a video where she used it with a horse with ring bone or side bone, and that horse wound up being serviceable again, with the combination of the good hoof care and then maintaining with Surefoot pads, right? So it's only
amazing.
limited by your imagination.
Wendy, this was fantastic. Everybody's thrilled. Comments are great. Thank you for your time.
You're really welcome. And if you have any questions, just pop us a message. Or I don't check Facebook. You can just email me, Wendy at Wendy Murdoch. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Right on. You guys, I love
Thank you.
you're so engaged today. Michelle's like, I have some horses with side bone. I want to try it on. So yeah. Wendy,
So when you have
Wendy-
anything,
Wendy at wendymurdoch.com if you guys need to email her.
yeah. And, with what I always say is with anything like arthritis or side bone, you want to start hard. You don't want to be bringing in lateral instability, right? Not right away. They might progress to that, but you want to start with the physio or the hard pad that's going to give the heat and pressure and not going to ask them to do a lot of lateral rebalancing. They may progress to that, but that's not where you start.
Okay, and Stacy just said we need to dig deeper, wonky hind end on one horse, laminitis survivor on the
And
other.
there's also, if you go to my YouTube channel, YouTube, hang on, I'll get you a link.
Wendy, I also just love your energy about your product. Like you're so excited and that's awesome because you've seen some really cool stuff. I just want to comment on your energy.
Thanks.
Your zeal is contagious.
I just have, I'm so curious all the time because I never know what's going to happen. And I'm just fascinated. I've never stopped being fascinated by this stuff. I'll just quickly screen share my YouTube channel because I've got all these amazing videos, webinars. I just did another one. So, you can come here and you can watch millions of, what am I up to? 360 webinars with Wendy.
Wow.
Kimmy, I haven't done one with you. With people like, Ida, Bettina Drummond, Brent Barrett, Martina Neardhart, Rachel Bellini. I mean, there's a ton of them, right? Madeline Ward. Oh, why doesn't she have a Facebook? And then there's a whole bunch. If you go to the playlist, there's the Surefoot playlist in here somewhere.
Excellent. I look forward to checking all of this content out. This is amazing. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. And if you want to listen to it, you just do Wendy's Winnies.
Wendy's Winnies?
Yep, on iTunes.
Okay. As an
I'm now on Spotify but not all of them. All of them are on iTunes. And then I've got some of them up on Spotify, Amazon, and what's the other one? iHeart.
And if we want to go through your course and get accredited,
So if you want to do that, you need to just email me and I'll send you a link to Surefoot Equine Online. Join that and that'll start the process.
Excellent. Thank you so much. What an
You're
honor
welcome.
to have you.
Oh, it's fun. It's always
We
fun.
love it. Thank you, you guys.
All right, have a great
week.
night.
Right on. I'll
Okay.
send you, well, you copied this onto your computer too. So you don't,
I don't think I did. Did I?
okay. I'll send you.
No, I didn't. Yeah,
copy.
I didn't. Awesome.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Right on. Bye.